Welcome to the OHSAA Division IV playoff preview. I am with the only guy who loves D4 basketball, the guy who loves D4 basketball the most in the state of Ohio, and that is Kurt Stubbs. Stubbs, this is your favorite division, so I'm very excited for some of the interesting pointers that I'm going to get to hear throughout this episode.
Yeah, I've always been a huge fan of Division Four. Just kind of always been drawn to the small towns, the big, followings along the way, especially some of these communities that only get to do this maybe once in a lifetime. So I've always been drawn to Division Four, and I know those guys that do a great job coaching up those D4 teams. They really appreciate any of the coverage and just the mentions of their teams and just their division in general.
Yeah, it is nice watching the big fan support. We're not going to get that this year, obviously, very disappointing.
Right.
But I just remember last year, probably, or the 2019, probably wasn't even the biggest D4 state title game, but it seemed like the whole town of Convoy, Ohio was there to watch Crestview lift up that state title game. And that's
Yep.
just cool. But we can get started. Region 13, we'll start Northeast 1 and Northeast 3. Northeast 1, it looks like the top seed is Bristol, or actually Heartland Christian. And then Northeast 3, this is the loaded district in the Northeast region, because this is the west side of the Northeast districts in Division 4. You got Richmond Heights, Rittman, Dalton, Cornerstone Christian, Independence, Fairport Harding, just a handful of talented teams here. But this district and this region really starts and ends with Richmond Heights.
Yeah, that Northeast one, Heartland Christian, they've had a really good season. I've queued them up a couple of times. They got a kid, Joey D'Onofrio, who has just hit 1,000 points. Really athletic kid. They've had a real nice season. Obviously, that district, when you're comparing the other three in this region, would probably be, if you're ranking them, would be 4. You've got a lot of teams. Bristol's had some success. Wellsville's another team that has some success, but then you got like a St. Thomas Aquinas at like a 10 seed, and you never know. They've probably play a little bit more of a Division III, Division II schedule than the rest of those teams. But it'd be interesting. It'd be cool to see Heartland Christian, not a team that's very well known outside of their, that Youngstown area, be able to advance.
Yeah, Richmond Heights, the presumptive favorite in Division 4. But this district does have some pretty other talented teams. You got Fairport Harding, led by Chris Peoples, having a really solid season. Independence had a good year. Dalton, you got the Wenger brothers. Rittman's pretty solid. So is there any team outside of Richmond Heights that kind of stands out in this Northeast 3 district? Because it's the best one in the Northeast among the 3 Northeast ones.
Yeah, I do. I like Dalton. Some people say Dalton, either or. They played Lutheran East this year. I think they got beat by about 30, 31, something like that. But they won the Wayne County League, which is a very underrated league, to be honest with you. It's mainly a D3 league. And they lost to Revere this year, I believe, Norwayne. And they even played Massillon this year as well.
To the buzzer.
So, Jalen Wenger is a really, really good player. And they have a lot of kids. They have some underclassmen on this team. Wenger himself, Caleb Reed is another kid that is on this team. I don't know. I mean, I really like them as a D4 team for sure, but trying to topple this Richmond Heights team that has a schedule that's made up of a lot of the state powers in Northeast Ohio. I mean, you just look at the team, Eds, Iggy, Warrensville Heights, St. V, those are the teams they lost to. And then you look at their roster and it's like a collection of good players, from Tolbert to Josiah Harris to Nettles to Ryan Cox Holloway. I mean, they're loaded, from top to bottom, and it's going to be a task to beat them. It's not something that I haven't seen before in D4, and somebody, ends up knocking that giant off. But it'll be a tall task to beat this team. Quentin Rogers, does a really good job. So if you're looking for somebody that's got a shot, I mean, Dalton's probably your best shot.
Yeah, Jaden Cox Holloway. You got him confused with Priest Ryan. You kind of combined the two names there.
Oh, I was just saying last names.
Oh, okay. I thought you said
Yeah.
Ryan Cox Holloway, like that was his first.
No. I was just dropping last names.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. Okay. So, Richmond Heights. They have size and athleticism that is unmatched at the D4 level. Like you look at Josiah Harris, 6'6", 6'7", has high major offers. Priest Ryan, 6'6", transfer from Pennsylvania. He is a potential Division I recruit. Jaden Cox Holloway, another 6'6" kid. Like you just don't see that sort of size at the D4 level. But we can move over to the other side of the region, Northeast 2 and Willard. Northeast 2, McDonald and Warren JFK are the top two seeds. And then over in Willard, you have Greenwich South Central and Margaretta, I think is how you pronounce that. I actually saw them this year. Jake Leibacher, a really talented junior guard for the Polar Bears. I was pretty impressed with him in the one game I saw of them. But yeah, these two districts seem pretty decent. Like four teams I think you can realistically see probably meeting up with Richmond Heights for a spot in the state Final Four on the line.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, I'd have to go back and look, but over the last 20 years, I think McDonald would probably be on the short list of teams that have won the most games, as far as combined like win total. They just never, they get to that Canton Regional and they just have never been able to get over the hump. They've always had really good teams. And I think this year is a little different for them. I think they're more of a collective unit. Over the last 4 years, it's been the Raziel show. And, obviously he scored, 70,000 points. But this year, with Miles Culp and Eli Street and those guys, they've won 20 games again. They lost to Struthers, who's unbeaten, and then New Middletown Springfield, who they split with. Springfield had a chance to tie for the league, and then they blow a game against Sebring McKinley. But McDonald wins the league. I think you're going to see McDonald, JFK, Cam Holloway, 1,000-point scorer for JFK, also a good football player. TJ Harden, I think that's going to be your district final. And I think that game could go either way. This Willard, the Willard district, I think there's probably, South Central is the 1 seed here, but they're trending down. They're 2-4 in their last 6. Margaretta has played, some pretty good competition. It'd be a whole different story if Mitch Race-Snyder could have played. That kid has had 2 ACL injuries. He's committed to go to West Point for football. Basically hasn't played since his sophomore year. You mentioned linebacker Ben Palomo, Nathan Schaefer. It's a nice little, and they're young. And you've seen them. They're young. They got a lot of guys coming back. They've lost a lot of close games. The team to me that jumps off the screen in Willard though is Norwalk St. Paul. They're hot. They've won 6 straight. They're the 3 seed. The Winslow twins are very good players. And then, Lucas was last year. Lucas was still in the tournament when we ended the season last year. If you remember, the Cubs were in that regional final, getting ready to go up against Richmond Heights. This isn't the same Lucas team, but they are good defensively. That is their calling card. I think they're 9-2 over the last 11, but I am going to go with St. Paul coming out of Willard.
Yeah, Lucas, a team I'm a little familiar with on the football side, when they
Very
took
good.
down Trimble in the D7 state title game a couple years ago. I believe there's going to be a rematch next year because they were supposed to play this season, and I believe it got pushed back to next year. So little sprinkle of football action, but we move over to the region that Stubbs would probably camp out for a month to get to every game. It's Region 14, Division IV. We can start at the Findlay and Elida side. First off, the Findlay District, you have Old Fort as the number 1 seed. Cary is the 3 seed. And then at the bottom, you got Tiffin Calvert as the 2 seed. I'm going to let you go crazy because I know a little bit about Calvert and Old Fort, but you are the expert here.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, I think you're going to see, round 3 of Old Fort and Tiffin Calvert. When you look at these matchups against, Old Fort beat Calvert by 1 the first time, and they beat them by 2 the second time. So Old Fort swept them. Boy, if that round 3 happens, I mean, Old Fort could beat them again a third time, but by 1-1 and 2 the other, that says that it's going to be another dogfight. You look at Old Fort. A lot of people thought Zach DeWeese might be the conference player of the year. Ends up being Colin Nutter, kind of an under the radar 6'7" junior for Old Fort. Again, they've had some really good success over the last 3 or 4 years. And then Tiffin Calvert, I think, 18-4, really good season. Nick Seifert is a very good player for them. Garrett Spahn, Nolan Beaker. I think that is going to be a fantastic district final if it happens. You got some teams. You mentioned Cary, who plays in a different conference, so they're not in that Sandusky Bay conference. But Mohawk is in there as well, and Hopewell Loudon. But I think we're going to get Old Fort and Calvert again.
All right, we can move over to Elida, and this is I haven't seen the rest of them, but this might be the best district in D4 in the state. Columbus Grove, the number 1 seed. They battled a ton of injuries to start the season. They got a trio of seniors that all played together for Northwest Ohio on the AAU circuit. They also have, I believe, Blake Reynolds has a younger brother who's a freshman who's pretty good. They're the number 1 seed. They were, by many people, predicted to be the second best team in Division IV in the preseason behind Richmond Heights. And then you go to the bottom, and district semifinal between Ottoville and Convoy Crestview in Division IV is as good as it gets. Kalen Etzler, Ohio State commit for Crestview, Josh Thorbon, Ryan Seaver, and Will Miller for Ottoville. I actually got to see them score 100 points against Toledo Rogers, a Division II school. Ottoville can score the basketball. I haven't seen Columbus Grove, so I don't want to mark up Ottoville because I've seen them and been impressed by them when I haven't given Columbus Grove that same opportunity to see them. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this district? Also, I don't want to snub them, but Kalida and Van Wert Lincoln View had very solid seasons. I believe both of them won 16, 17 plus games.
Yeah, I'll quickly mention it. Kalida started the year 9-0. They're 8-5, and so they're kind of tapered off a little bit. But Lincoln View's interesting. That they are one of the 2 teams that has beat Ottoville this year, which is wasn't easy to do by any means. And then they played Grove, and I watched that game. Grove just took them apart that night, beat them by 21. But you look at this. You could make a case for me, Grove, Ottoville, or Convoy. Because you look at Convoy, and they lost to Grove by 6, and they lost to Ottoville by 2 in overtime. So that kind of tells you they're right there. And how many times have we seen in the tournament where a marquee player like a Kalen Etzler has been able to put his team on his back and carry them to a long tournament run. So they're kind of the team that could play spoiler here because they have that guy. They have, the guy. But when you look at teams though, Grove and Ottoville, if you're talking just strictly teams, those are clearly the two best teams in the district for sure. I mean, top to bottom. And you mentioned, the three-headed monster for Grove. They're finally healthy. They did lose, they were undefeated last year when they were, the tournament ended. They were in the Elite Eight, probably heading to the Final Four. I think they were going to play Parkway maybe. So, they lost early this year, 11-point loss to Ottoville, but that was really early. Their football team made a long run this year as well with a lot of those same characters. Man, I want to see, not to discount anybody else, but I want to see Ottoville healthy. I want to see Grove healthy, and take your pick. I mean, both of those teams are sensational.
And the other thing about this district, how many seniors are there? Just everybody. And that's what wins in March. I was at the Cincinnati second round, and in both games that I watched, the teams that relied more upon their seniors moved on, and both of them were lower seeds. It's not a coincidence when it happens year in and year out that seniors win in the tournament. Look at perfect example was the Harvest Prep Lutheran East state title game. Lutheran East had a lot of talent, but they were really young. And Harvest Prep, outside of CJ Anthony, every other one of their rotation players were seniors, and they got it done. But really, there is no advantage to being seniors in this district because everybody has seniors. So It's not like one team is senior laden and the other is a bunch of sophomores and juniors. These are all seniors. So we can move on to the other side of this region. We move on to the Wapa District. Lima Perry, the number 1 seed, Minster, the number 2 seed. But then you've got St. Henry, 3, New Bremen, Marion Local, they're year in and year out pretty solid. Fort Recovery, Ridgemont has a potential 2,000 point scorer by the time it's all said and done. This district, while not as good at the top, maybe seeds like 1 through 10 is better than the last district we looked at.
Yeah, what makes this district very difficult is this is basically, outside of like Lima Perry. I mean, you're looking at, this is the Midwest Athletic Conference district, and this year there wasn't like I think Minster's really, really good. I think they've won 8 straight games. They are playing really good basketball. They've got a nice. I saw them play Ottoville early. Ottoville beat them, close game. But they got a really nice mesh of older guys, a couple juniors. But that Midwest Athletic Conference, after them, it was like pretty much everything was close. You St. Henry, New Bremen, Marion Local, even a team like Fort Recovery. I think they were like right around 11-11. All close games. They had 9 losses by 8 points or fewer. Fort Recovery did. So they're in all those games. Lima Perry plays pretty good schedule because their conference isn't great. They did play Lima Shawnee, obviously, got housed. But they played Bath, Antwerp. Actually, Lima Perry beat Minster this year by 2. This Minster team is different right now. So it's hard because all these teams are familiar with each other, but I think Minster is going to be the team that comes out of here. You look at their losses, Botkins by 4, really good team. Ottoville by 4, Perry by 2, all close games. Look for Minster to come out of here.
All right, and we will, apologize for the yawn, move on to the Defiance District. And this has 2 teams that everyone's expecting to see in a district title game. It's Antwerp and it's Toledo Christian. Antwerp had an amazing season last year. I believe they were undefeated in the regular season, and then they lost in the playoffs. Was it to Columbus Grove, if I remember correctly?
Yes.
Yep. And then Toledo Christian, I think that they are on this side of the region. They would be my pick to make it to the Elite Eight against whoever comes out of the other side, whether it's Columbus Grove, Ottoville, Crestview, take your pick. But Toledo Christian would be my pick. Cole McWinney, one of the best shooters in the state. Trevor Winsink has been playing at a pretty high level. They have decent size, little solid mix, old guys. They play a freshman, Kanye Gaston. So yeah, I think Toledo Christian is the team that's going to come out of here. No disrespect to Antwerp, they keep finding ways to win. Big win over Botkins. I'm sure you could go down the list. They have many big wins this year, despite losing like 3 starters from last year's unbeaten team. So the fact that they can come back the next year, and I believe they only lost 1 or 2 games all season, is very impressive.
Yeah, you see this a lot at schools like this. Antwerp has got a really good run of talent. They were extremely good in baseball as well. Kraus is a really good baseball player. So you got Kraus and the younger Landers. It's just a shame that the older brother graduated last year, and but the good thing was they actually did get an end of their season. It was a hard fought game. I think it was the district final. You look at Antwerp though. When I dissect Antwerp, they've lost 1 game. It was a 1-point loss to Wayne Trace, who's a Division III perennial really good team in Division III in their conference. They've won 11 straight games. You look at the teams they've beat. They've beat Ottoville. They've beat Lincoln View. They've beat Botkins, and they've beat Lima Perry. I mean, you could put their resume for good wins up against anybody. One thing I like about Toledo Christian, Mike, they went out and scheduled like a team that was going to make a run. When you look at the teams that they've played, they lost to Ottoville in overtime. They lost to Division I Northview. They lost to Stritch, and they lost to Perrysburg recently. So they went up. They played up to get that.
It's 2 D1 teams and
Right.
a number 1 seed in a D3 district right there. And I believe like either the Perrysview or the Northview game was like an 8-point game. And they're not even bad D1 teams. It'd be 1 team to get the bottom of the barrel D1. Those are not pushover.
No, those are quality.
Teams. Yeah.
And the wins, Highland, who's not as good as they normally are, Upper Sandusky, Convoy, they beat Jackson Center, Archbold, and Liberty Benton, and then they recently beat Western Reserve, which not too many people have been able to do that the last couple of years. So I'm right there with you. My guy Doug Billman up at Antwerp, I think he's done a spectacular job with that program. And then McWinney at Toledo Christian has done a great job of building that program over the last decade or so. So I don't know, I do like the backcourt of McWinney and Winsink in tournament play, and I'm kind of there with you on them advancing.
Yeah, give me the 2 scholarship senior guards in D4. I'll take my chances with them.
Absolutely.
So we can move on to Region 15. Might be the region that we know the most. Basically, you know the most about all of them, but this is the one that I probably am the most familiar with. We'll start off Southeast 1. New Boston Glenwood is the 1 seed. Lucasville Valley 4. White Oak 5. Is there anybody you think that can challenge New Boston Glenwood? Kyle Sexton has had a fantastic season in the running for Division IV Player of the Year. I believe their guard's name is Tanner Voyers, who's had another really solid season. So you look at that 1-2 punch, that's going to be tough to beat in the Southeast region. Anybody you think can compete with them in this district specifically?
Well, when I look down here, the one team that's familiar with them is White Oak, because they play with them in the same league, um, and they're not too bad. Lucasville Valley is interesting. That's where Norm Person is at now. Norm, formerly of Chesapeake, and won a state title at Oak Hill. He's now at Lucasville, which he retired for about 30 seconds and then took the Lucasville job, which tells me that there's probably some young talent down there, which I know there is. So if you're looking for two teams that could maybe sneak up on Glenwood, those would be the two, because one is familiar and the other one I know has some young talent. But I watched New Boston play, man. They're Southeast Ohio, sometimes it is what it is. You can't, you coach up the guys that come through your doors at most schools. And Kyle Sexton's a really good player. Tanner Voorhees is a good player. They play fast, they trap, they chuck it. They play a fun brand of basketball, and they've had some pretty good success over the last 3 or 4 years. They've won a lot of games. But I think eventually they are probably clearly the best team in this district.
Yeah, they were the kind of the darling of the AP poll for whatever reason all year.
Mike, there was 9 people at one point that voted for number 1. No, I mean, and again,
I love Southeast Ohio basketball. I promise I do. They're good too. They're good.
Yeah.
No way though.
No
right. Way, Jose.
Right.
But we can move on to Central 1. This is who will play that Southeast 1. Patriot Prep, team I actually got to see against Caldwell. Darius Ogborn and Chris Towns. That's a solid 1-2 punch for Patriot Prep. They've had their best season in school history, unique little gym and facility. And then at the bottom, you've got Grandview Heights, who was one of the contenders to win a state title last year. And this is not Grandview Heights of 2020 at all.
No, it was a shame, especially with that 1-2 punch they had last year. Those guys have been around for 4 years. I do think that they were a really good money bet for winning it last year. Just the way they were playing, just dominating teams. Yep. You look at this team, though, they went on a 7-game losing streak, but they've won 4 out of 6. Danny Claypool's their leading scorer. And then you got Millersport down there at the 6.
Mason Purvis.
Yeah, this is just, I mean, I think, it's going to come down to Patriot Prep or Grandview Heights, but you've seen Patriot Prep, and you could say more if this is a team you think is going to be able to escape here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Grandview Heights has.
Right.
It's impossible to judge this Grandview Heights team in the MSL Ohio. I believe that's the only conference that has teams in divisions 1, 2, 3, and 4, between like Whitehall, Buckeye Valley, Worthington.
Yeah, strange.
So odd.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what to do with a team that their conference, they're just losing to like Worthington Christian and Whitehall. Like pretty much every D4 team would lose by double digits to those teams. So I really don't know what to do with Grandview Heights. But Patriot Prep looked like a team outside of the Northwest region. I would be like, that's a D4 district title team. It's a little different in Northwest just because there are better teams in D4 in Northwest. But pretty much any other part of the state, I saw them and I'd be like, yeah, they should be favorites to win a D4 district title. But we can move on to Southeast 2. The Trouble Tomcats are the number 2 seed. I know they're a favorite of yours, favorite of mine. I got to see them when they played the number 3 seed, Federal Hocking. Now, Federal Hocking is a great story. 5 years ago, they did not win a game. And last season, they won a district title. I think. They either got to the district title game or they won a district title.
I think they got to the district title game last year.
Okay. But they did lose a couple talented seniors, but they did bring back Hunter Smith. They got transferred from Chillicothe. You mentioned New Boston Glenwood. They like to push the pace and trap. That's all Federal Hawking knows how to do. And in both games this year, Trimble has blitzed them. They've gone out to 20-point first half leads, as big as 25 in each game. And both times Fedhawk has cut the deficit to 5 and to 8 points. So it's interesting because the games played out eerily similar. You think maybe, hey, maybe Fedhawk doesn't get down 20 points. They make their big run in the third quarter and we got a game. But also, how much do you want to bet on a team that's been down by 25 points twice to that same opponent? We'll see.
Yeah, I like Trimble because I like Howie Caldwell. I think he's a really good basketball coach. He can pretty much you can pretty much give him anything and he's going to find a way to win basketball games. He's done it at multiple schools. I think I want to say he had this team in the region last year. If I'm not mistaken, I think they were the team that got to play Grandview Heights.
Yep.
But because I know Peebles was the other team last year, and Highland.
Okay, so Peebles beat Fedhawk in.
Yeah, Highland beat Peebles by 1, which was very surprising because the year before they had beat him by like 30 or 33 points. You look at this and it's 2 and 3. It's Trimble with Fedhawk, but then you got like Peebles at 7, who's got a pedigree of winning in the tournament, especially when they're in Division IV. And then a sneaky team is Leesburg Fairfield. They always seem to win a few games in the tournament, seem to sneak into the district. So keep an eye on them as 11 seed. But I would bet on Howie Caldwell here in the Trimble Tomcats, one of the great places in Ohio, Gloucester.
I've been lucky to be in Gloucester, Ohio multiple times throughout the past 3 years.
You are lucky.
Now we move over to the East District, the gigantic district.
Yes.
There are how many teams in here? 15?
Yeah, it's got to be 15 or 16, I would assume.
Yep. Number 1 seed Malvern, number 2 seed Shenandoah, number 3 seed Berlin Highland, got to see them, and number 4 Strasburg Franklin. Highland has dominated this district for a while, but this is not the same Highland. You never want to count them out, though. I was impressed with somebody on Shenandoah at the Route 33 challenge that I watched in the fall. Forget his name, unfortunately. It's escaping me right now.
Christian Dunover.
Okay. So yeah, they've got a solid team. So yeah, we'll see them in Malvern top 2. They decided to go on the same side of the district, which was kind of interesting. Not sure if that was a whole Chet Mason brush accidentally picking a wrong line, or if Shenandoah wanted to attack Malvern as early as possible.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, Michael. I was asking a coach from a Division III coach from the East District, and he wasn't sure. But what I thought might have happened, and this is just speculation, I thought that maybe Malvern went on or passed and let Shenandoah go on the bracket, and then jumped in their bracket so Highland wouldn't jump. That way they could avoid Highland until the district final. And that's the kind of respect, though, that people have for Schlaball and Highland, even though, this isn't a super Highland team, but it is a team that goes out and challenges itself. It plays great teams. I've seen Malvern probably 3 or 4 times now recently. Saw them lose a game, a team that kind of has Tucci's number, Ridgewood, a Division III team, very good. They were in the regional last year in Division III. Very good football team. And they should have won that game. And then I watched them play really well against Akron Hoban last week. In a game, they were right there. I think it ended 57-51. A kid that a lot of people need to get on their radar, especially in that area up there, is a kid named Michael Miner. He's a 6'6", 6'7" junior, can really step out and stroke it. And then they have the 2,000-point scorers in Johnny Browning and Dirk Hutchinson, who was their quarterback in football. But Browning and Meyer are a matchup nightmare for D4 kids. And they have so much length and size on this team and guys that just know their role. When I watch this Malvern team, this is a team to me that looks like a team that can contend for a D4 state title. I know that not a lot of people, may give them the credit they deserve, but Dennis Tucci has been on the doorstep many a time in the regional with some great, great players. And you could take this to the bank. In 2017, if Dennis Tucci has Javon Graves, Malvern wins the state championship. Instead, Javon was at Akron St. V, but Javon has originally played junior high in Malvern. So this is a team to me, though, that can win, and not just a district, not a they can win it all. If it lines up for them, they have the pieces to do it. But this, I think, to me, Mike, it's going to be harder for them to get out of the district than it is the region, because these teams in the district know them. Strasburg's beat it. They split with Strasburg. Adam Hall does a great job there, Dover guy. Berlin Highland, you've seen them. They lost 2 starters before the season started, torn ACLs. Hunter Summer, who was arguably their best player last year, tore his ACL. He couldn't play. Another starter, names escape my mind, was out with an ACL as well. So they're down 2 starters before the season even started. And then you mentioned Shenandoah. That guy, Mark Smith, come down there, and I don't know if you've ever been to Cedarville, Ohio. That's where the Zeps play. But Christian Dunover I'm assuming that's the kid you've seen. He's the all-time leading scorer at Shenandoah, and they've had some great players there, a lot of regionals in the past under Dan Schwederman. But Mark Smith has revived that program, and Dunover and Max McVicker, 6'4" senior, really good combo. And then the other team that is kind of sneaky is Shady Side, who knocked off River the other night. But I have a really hard time going against Malvern just from what I've seen with my own eyes.
Interesting. So we will. I had to look up where Malvern was when you were talking about Javon Graves. I was like, where's he from? I didn't actually know that. But yeah, seems like they sound like the team to beat. Haven't had the chance to go to Shenandoah. Believe at Gridiron we covered them my freshman year in a neutral site game at like Newark or Newark Catholic, but we did not go.
Take a paper bag with you. If you ever go to Sarasville, you better take a paper bag in the car, because the roads get a little windy.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've been on a
reference.
few. I'm sure you've been on a few in Southeast Ohio.
Yeah, there was one trip where I had to puke in the car on the way back from a game, and it happened. I'm not proud of it, but
yeah,
it did, and it was like I was at Cedar Point, but that's why Cedar Point's in Northwest Ohio and not Southeast Ohio, because you can just drive 50 miles an hour, and it's just like the Top Thrill Dragster or the Corkscrew. We can move on to the final region. We'll start off in Southwest 3. They're actually already in the district semis.
Yeah.
Cedarville and Jackson Center. That's going to be a pretty interesting district title game, assuming we get it. Cedarville's got a pair of seniors, Trent Koning, Isaiah Ramey. They've had a really solid season, beat a decent amount of D3 programs in their conference. And then Jackson Center, Aiden Reichert, they play in a very difficult league. Started off the year a little slow. They were the projected favorite, I believe, in that league. And Botkins kind of surprised some people, believe they split the title with Anna. But that doesn't mean that Jackson Center can't make a deep run. So this could be a pretty entertaining district title game down in that Southwest region. Yeah,
Cedarville has one of the biggest head-scratching losses of the year. They're 21-1, and they've won 15 straight games, but they lost a 6-point game to Northeastern. Maybe it's just a bad night, I don't know, but it's kind of a head-scratcher. But they got a nice 1-2 punch, as you mentioned, with Koning and Ramey. Ramey's growth as far as not like as a player, but also as his growth, he's probably about 6'4", 6'5" now, has really helped him and the team. And then, and this is something they've been building for a couple years. These guys have played a lot of ball as younger guys. And in Jackson Center, the way they play, Scott Elchert, the head coach there, they're built for tournament success. And I know when they get to the district and they get to the region, I get buddies all the time that text me and go, "Oh, please no, please not Jackson Center." Just because of the way they play, they want to keep it low. They want to defend. They want to be physical. But Aiden Riker, who is the Shelby County Athletic League Player of the Year again, he's really good. And you mentioned it, that conference with Botkins, Fort Laramie, Anna, who's always going to be good, Division III, a really athletic school. They do a lot of things well. I think you're right. I think Jackson, one team, Springfield Catholic Central, has played Cedarville twice. Obviously, Cedarville won both games. So that may be interesting, district semi. But I think we're going to see Cedarville and Jackson Center.
And now, a little tired.
D4 is putting Mike to sleep.
I don't think it's D4. I think it's a lack of sleep from last night. But we moved to Southwest 2. Winner of this district will play the winner of the last district. We got Tri-Village at the 1 seed, and they're going to play Legacy Christian in a district semi. And Cincinnati College Prep and Hamilton New Miami are down at the bottom. Tri-Village, believe they're still unbeaten. One of are they the only unbeaten D4 team in the state?
I believe so.
Yeah, after McDonald lost. I think you're right. So yeah, we'll see. Very hard to go unbeaten throughout a regular season. I know Lane Sarver had them rolling on the gridiron this year as well. We'll see if he can have more playoff success, maybe go to the state Final Four in basketball after their football season. I believe they got upset a little earlier than expected.
Yep. Yeah, I like this district here. Tri-Village, interesting. Coach Josh Sagister, who won the state there in 2015 at Tri-Village, and then he took a couple of years off. His daughter is a really good player. I think she's a sophomore at Tri-Village, but he decided to come back this year, and there was some scuttlebutt about him coming back, and he messaged me back in the summer and said he wanted me to know he was back. They're hungry, they're long, they're athletic, and he said they're going to make some noise this year. And I said, well, it's good to have you back, Coach. And here we are. When you watch them play with Sarver, who was the Southwest District, just got voted the Southwest District D4 Player of the Year, also an outstanding quarterback. But you look at like Josh Scantlin, Dalton DeLong, Wilson Suggs, Ty Linkus. This team's all juniors and sophomores too. All those guys I mentioned are all juniors and sophomores. And when you watch them play, there's like 3 or 4 guys on that team. And I know this is weird for teams that play in D1, but they got 3 or 4 guys that dunk the ball on this team, which is rare for a D4 team to have that type of athleticism and size, outside of Richmond Heights. But Cincinnati College Prep is an interesting team. Jamarion Jones and then Trey Munson, both have had big years for them. And then New Miami, Deanza Duncan, Trey Robinette, and Jordan Robinette. Those guys have been playing for like 15 years. So New Miami and Cincinnati College Prep will be an interesting district semi. Legacy Christian, Jonathan Riddle's had a good year for those guys. When it's all said and done, I think, Cincinnati College Prep may have something to say about it, but I think Tri-Village is going to get out of here.
All right, we could move to Southwest 1, which is the other side of the region, and we got Fort Laramie versus Botkins in like 3 hours
Yeah.
from when we're recording this. That's going to be very interesting. Botkins, there was a certain point in the season where Botkins' resume compared to anybody else's resume in D4, it wasn't close. Like, they had the best resume. I think their first 9 games, they were 9-0, and they had 5 or 6 real quality wins. And they fell off a little bit, lost to Anna, lost to Antwerp in overtime. I believe they lost one more game as well in there.
I think they lost I want to say they lost to Fort Laramie.
Very possible. But this is still a team that I think is very talented, might be the favorite to come out of this region. They got a nice mix of size with Jacob Plyman, senior leadership at the point guard position, Jaden Pretty. This is a team that, based on results, I think that they have a decent shot of making it to Dayton for the state title game.
Yeah, I really like Botkins. Even way back last spring when I kind of saw what they had coming back, I asked around, ended up being able to help them get into the flying to the hoop, which never happened. But Fort Laramie is interesting because Coach Britton does a great job there. Caleb Meyer is a first team all conference guy, an all district guy. Grant Albers has been around. Caleb Maurer, so they're familiar with Botkins. So it's not, I think you're going to see probably a lower scoring game, and it's going to be tight. I can't see this game being settled by more than 7 or 8 points. Sean Powell, man, what a job he's done, resurrecting Botkins. He came down as an assistant from Lima Perry, where they had some success up there with Matt Tabler. And I was listening to a podcast with Sean, and his son, I don't think initially wanted to move to Botkins, but I'm sure he's glad that he decided to make it, make it down to Botkins, because he's been a steady hand for them. Jaden Pretty Powell, and then Jacob and Carter Plyman obviously are a tough matchup for a lot of D4 kids, but on talent, Botkins is probably the better team, but you can't discount that Fort Laramie is very well coached and they know Botkins.
All right, we'll move on to the last district. Central 2, we've got Cardigan Lincoln, the 1 seed, and Newark Catholic, the 3 seed. Any teams you think could make a run here? Seems like this, if it's Botkins or Fort Laramie, I think that they're going to have no trouble with the winner of this district.
Yeah, well, Cardington Lincoln is a 1 seed in the district, and they finished 3rd in their league. Lost to Fredericktown and Centerburg twice.
2 D3 teams, to be fair.
Yeah, solid D3 teams who had very good years. And then, the one loss, though, they did lose at Newark Catholic by 9, which, is a team that they are likely going to see again if both teams are able to advance. Cole Cantor, leading the Green Wave over there in Newark Catholic. They're under
Final
500
Four again in football.
Yeah, they're under 500, but they play in the Licking County League, which is,
that might be the other league that has divisions 1 through 4 teams.
Yeah, because they have Licking Heights in that league, which is Division 1.
Licking Heights, Newark Catholic.
Yeah, I mean, you have
there's 2 divisions, so I'm not sure how that works. But yeah, I do think, so the MSL Ohio and the Licking County League, those are the 2 leagues that has schools in divisions 1 through 4. And I remember Licking Heights beat Newark Catholic by 55. Which D1 versus D4, I know it's a conference game, but if you're talking about a district title winner that's losing the game by a conference game by 55 points, whew.
Yeah, and I am. I mean, you got, East Knox in here and Fisher Catholic or a couple other teams, but I think when the dust settles, I think Newark Catholic will be the team that gets out of here and goes to the region.
All right, well, to wrap this up, we will go would you rather take? I think in each of the 4 divisions, there is a clear favorite. So I will ask you the question: will you take the favorite or the field?
Okay.
So in Division I,
Yeah.
Moeller or the field?
Moeller or the field?
Yes,
I'll take the field.
I agree. In Division II, St. V or the field?
There's a couple teams I like, but I'm going to take St. V.
I'm taking St. V, and I'm not thinking twice about it. In Division III, Lutheran East or the field?
Ooh. I'll take Lutheran East.
I am too. I am going to take Lutheran East. Find it very, very likely they make a Final Four, and at that point, I think I'm just going to roll with them. And finally, Division IV, Richmond Heights or the field?
I mean, obviously, there's a lot to like about Richmond Heights' team, but I would take the field in Division IV because I think there's so much depth, especially coming from Northwest Ohio, and then you have a couple of like a Malvern and maybe a Botkins or Tri-Village. I think there's some really good teams out in Division IV. I mean, obviously, if we're going to pick favorites, Richmond Heights would be there, but I'll take the field in D4.
I think it would be tough I'm going to take the field because if Richmond Heights has to go through Botkins and then whoever comes out of the Northwest back-to-back games, that's going to be tough. I would favor them in each game, but maybe only give them a 70% chance to beat Botkins and then a 65-70% chance to beat whoever comes out of the Northwest. And when you add that up, that's a little under 50%. So I will also take the field. I wish we disagreed with one of those. I predetermined my picks, and you just happened to agree with me on all of them. Any last closing remarks before we wrap this up?
Well, I just want to say this. Kudos to the OHSAA for landing UD Arena as their Final Four spot. I've said this many times. Dayton basketball fans are the best in the state of Ohio. They love basketball. As far as a major metropolitan city goes, I think it's in the right place. Obviously, it's not going to be, the usual state tournament with fans and all that stuff, but Dayton's a great landing spot. I know it's a little bit further for some people, but I think you're really going to enjoy UD Arena.
Yeah, I have never been there, so should be interesting. First time experience for me. Very excited. Hopefully we get the Final Four and title games that we missed out on last year. And we crown 4 teams champions because it's going to be really weird looking at the Wikipedia in 70 years and seeing 2020, nobody won.
Right.
So let's make sure that in 2021, we've got some teams on the list right there. But that will wrap it up. Thank you so much for being along here and blabbling really for as long as we did about these playoff matchups.